Do you really believe that after emotionally destroying you, he simply moved on, as if nothing had happened? That he slept peacefully, woke up refreshed, and continued life without even remembering the damage he caused? This apparent coldness isn't strength, it's pure desperation. This indifference he displays isn't emotional stability, it's an internal collapse masked by the desperate need to keep up appearances. Here's what nobody tells you. While you question yourself, blame yourself, and try to understand what happened, he's living through a true psychological hell. Only unlike you, who seeks healing and growth, he chooses to deny, hide, and pretend everything is fine. Freud used to say that the unconscious never lies, and his unconscious is screaming in pain. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 9 devastating feelings that every narcissist experiences after hurting you, but will never admit. Feelings that corrode from within, that steal sleep, that make him obsessively check your social media at 3 a.m. Get ready, because what you're about to discover could completely change how you view this entire situation. The first feeling that invades the narcissist's mind after hurting you is something he mistakenly interprets as relief. In the first moments, there's a sensation that he won another battle, that he managed to maintain control of the situation. It's as if he thinks, "There, I showed who's in charge here, she learned her lesson." But this relief is a dangerous illusion. In reality, it's just an automatic reaction from the wounded ego trying to protect itself from its own guilt. Freud would call this a primitive defense mechanism, a desperate way to avoid contact with one's own conscience. What happens next is devastating for him. This supposed relief lasts a few hours, maybe a few days, until reality knocks on the door. When he realizes you're not going to beg for forgiveness, that you're not going to chase after explanations, that you simply disappeared from his life, the relief transforms into something much more sinister. He begins to realize there's no one to manipulate, no one to control, no one reacting to his provocations, and without reaction there's no game. Without a game there's no dopamine. Without dopamine there's no pleasure. What remains is a void so deep he doesn't even know how to deal with it. It's at this moment that the real suffering begins. Because for the narcissist, the absence of drama is more torturous than any fight. He lives for conflict, feeds off your pain, needs your attention like an addict needs the drug. And now tell me, from which city are you watching this video? Because regardless of where you are, what I'm going to reveal in the next chapter will shock you about the second feeling he experiences. When the false relief disappears, the narcissist encounters something Freud described as existential angst, a void so deep it seems to suck all vital energy. Only unlike a psychologically healthy person who can find purpose even in solitude, the narcissist needs constant external stimulation to feel alive. Imagine an adrenaline addict who suddenly loses all sources of intense emotion. That's exactly what happens to him when you disappear from his life. Those intense discussions, your tears, your attempts at explanation, your emotional energy. All of this was the fuel that kept his psychological engine running. Now, without you to feed this sick system, he enters a kind of emotional withdrawal. He might try to distract himself with other people, go out, post photos on social media, but nothing fills the hole your absence left. Because these other people are just temporary substitutes. They don't know the right buttons to push, don't react the way he was used to. The most ironic thing is that he himself destroyed the only source of energy that really worked for him. It's like someone who breaks their own phone in anger and then becomes desperate without communication. He knew exactly how to hurt you, how to make you cry, how to confuse you, but now realizes that all this power has turned against him. During the day, he manages to stay busy, but it's during the early morning hours that the void hits with full force. That's when he scrolls through social media feeds, checking if you posted anything, trying to decipher every story, every photo, every move you make online. The third feeling that corrodes the narcissist from within is a specific and venomous rage, fury that you dared to step out of the script he wrote. Freud explained that this narcissistic rage is different from any other type of anger. It doesn't seek resolution, it seeks destruction. He planned every move, every word, every strategy to keep you spinning around him. He expected your desperate calls, your apologies, your attempts to win back his love. But you did something he never imagined. You simply disappeared. This breaking of expectations generates such intense rage that he can't even process it adequately. It's as if his entire universe had been reorganized without his consent. Suddenly, he's no longer the director of the play, no longer controls the script, no longer has a guaranteed audience for his performances. The rage manifests in subtle but revealing ways. He might start speaking badly about you to other people, spreading distorted versions of the story, or making apparently casual comments that are actually direct attacks on your reputation. All of this because internally he's boiling with hatred. But here's the most important detail. This rage isn't directed only at you. Deep down, he's furious with himself for losing control of the situation. It's self-flagellation disguised as external hatred. Freud would call this projection, throwing onto others what he can't accept about himself. The most disturbing thing is that the more you show you're doing well, the more this rage grows. Every photo of you smiling, every achievement you share, every sign that you moved on without him is like pouring alcohol on an open wound. The fourth feeling that dominates the narcissist's mind is an obsession so intense it becomes pathological. Freud would describe this as libidinal fixation, an inability to redirect psychic energy to other objects or people. Unlike genuine love, which accepts the other's freedom, this obsession is possessive and controlling. He can't stop thinking about you, can't accept that you simply moved on. It's as if part of his ego got stuck in you, and now he needs to recover that part to feel complete again. The obsession manifests in almost stalker-like ways. He memorizes your schedules, knows your routes, knows when you're online or offline. He might even create fake profiles to continue monitoring you, or use mutual friends as disguised informants. All of this happens because in his mind, you're still an extension of his narcissistic personality. The most frightening thing is that this obsession can last for years. Even when he's with other people, a significant part of his mental energy continues focused on you. It's as if you were an internal object that he can't metabolize or expel from his psyche. During this phase, he might alternate between trying to win you back with false promises of change and trying to completely destroy you through psychological sabotage. Both strategies have the same objective: to keep you connected to him somehow, even if it's through fear or pain. Freud explained that when the narcissist can't possess the object of desire, he tries to destroy it so no one else can have it. It's a sick logic that reveals how fragile his psychological structure is. And this fragility leads us directly to the fifth feeling. The fifth feeling that torments the narcissist is a primordial fear that Freud would call symbolic castration anxiety, the absolute terror of having his true nature exposed to the world. Because deep down, he knows exactly who he is, an emotional imposter who built a false identity based on manipulating and controlling others. When you leave his life without scandal, without drama, without trying to get revenge, this creates terrible anxiety in his mind. Because he knows you truly know him. You saw behind the mask, know the dirty tricks he uses, witness the moments of weakness he hides from everyone. The question that won't leave his head is, will she tell someone who I really am? This fear is so intense, it can generate paranoid behaviors. He might start monitoring your social media obsessively, not to know how you are, but to detect any sign that you're talking about him. The terror of exposure also explains why he might try to launch a preventive smear campaign. He spreads distorted versions of the story, not just out of anger, but from genuine fear that the truth about him will be revealed. It's an attacker's best defense strategy. Freud would say, this anxiety reveals the primary narcissistic wound, the deep conviction that if people truly knew him, they would completely reject him. That's why he lives wearing masks and playing characters. You became dangerous not because you did something against him, but because you possess information that could destroy the public image he works so hard to maintain. And this terrifies him more than any direct confrontation. The sixth feeling that consumes the narcissist is an envy so corrosive that Freud would compare it to a psychic poison that spreads throughout his entire emotional system. But we're not talking about common envy, the kind we feel when someone has something we want. No, this is the specific and destructive envy of your healing process, your growth, your extraordinary ability to move forward and rebuild yourself from the ashes. Imagine the following situation. While he remains trapped in the same destructive patterns as always, repeating the same toxic behaviors with other people like a scratched record that won't stop playing the same irritating song, you demonstrate something he will never be able to have, the real capacity for emotional evolution. And this corrodes him from within, in a way he can't even verbalize or fully understand. Each of your achievements, however small, functions like a stab to his ego. That photo where you appear genuinely happy, not pretending, but radiating an inner peace he's never experienced. That new job you got. That trip you took alone, demonstrating an independence that terrifies him. Every sign that you're truly well, every piece of evidence that you overcame the trauma he caused, functions like a cruel mirror reflecting everything he will never be able to achieve. Why will he never be able to? Because to truly grow, to have genuine emotional evolution, would require something that goes against narcissistic nature itself. Recognizing one's own mistakes, making peace with one's own shadow, taking responsibility for damage caused, and mainly, developing real empathy. And this is absolutely impossible for the narcissistic structure. It would be like asking a vampire to feed on sunlight. The envy manifests in subtle but extremely revealing ways for those who know how to observe. He might start minimizing your achievements through apparently casual comments. "Oh, she was always lucky anyway," or "she must be pretending she's fine to get attention." He might spread distorted versions of your story, telling mutual acquaintances that you're just going through a phase, that you'll come back begging for forgiveness, or that you were always unstable anyway. Even more dangerous, he might try to actively sabotage your new relationships. How? Appearing casually when you're with someone new, sending ambiguous messages right at moments he knows you're happy, or even contacting people from your past to warn them about supposed problems you have. Freud explained something fascinating about this mechanism. The narcissist projects onto others what he would like to be, but since he can't become it, he tries to destroy it. It's exactly like a child who, unable to build a beautiful sandcastle, decides to kick and destroy the castle another child built. It's easier to destroy the mirror than accept the painful reflection. But here's the most important detail you need to understand. The more you flourish, the more you show you're genuinely well, the more he feels compelled to try to bring you down. This isn't coincidence, it's a predictable psychological pattern. Your happiness is living proof that he wasn't necessary, that you not only survived without him, but prospered. The most ironic thing, and this will give you a sense of poetic justice, is that this envy reveals exactly the opposite of what he tries to demonstrate. Instead of showing superiority, it exposes a deep inferiority and the painful awareness that you're capable of something he never will be. True inner transformation. Every time he tries to diminish your achievements, he's actually screaming to the world, "She achieved something I never will." Every sabotage attempt is a silent confession that you reached a level of emotional evolution he can only dream of having. The seventh feeling that devastates the narcissist is the absolute, visceral and terrifying despair of becoming completely irrelevant in your life. And you need to understand something fundamental. For someone who built their entire identity around the ability to impact, control, and manipulate other people, irrelevance isn't just painful. It's literally worse than symbolic death. Freud explained with surgical precision that for the narcissist, existing means being the center of attention, being indispensable in others' lives, being the protagonist of all stories. It's as if they were actors who can only feel alive when they're on stage, under spotlights, with an audience reacting to every gesture. When you demonstrate that you can live perfectly well without him, without even mentioning his name, without giving signs that he even exists in your mental universe, this completely disintegrates the very structure of the narcissistic ego. Imagine the following scenario. For months, maybe years, you were the center of his manipulative attention. He knew exactly how to push your emotional buttons, knew your insecurities by heart, had mapped every vulnerability of yours. You were like a musical instrument he played with perverse mastery. Suddenly, the instrument simply disappears. It doesn't break, doesn't disappear in a dramatic fight. It simply ceases to exist for him. The despair of irrelevance manifests through increasingly desperate and pathetic attempts to get your attention. I'll give you concrete examples you've probably already experienced. That strategic like on a photo of yours from 2 years ago, precisely at 2 a.m. It wasn't an accident, it was calculated. That apparently innocent comment on social media, but loaded with subtext. It was a desperate attempt to provoke reaction. He might appear casually in places he knows you frequent. He might even completely change his routine just to bump into you. He might start going to the same gym, the same cafe, the same supermarket. He might make a point of passing in front of your house or workplace, always with some flimsy excuse if questioned. Even more subtle, he might use mutual people as unconscious messengers. You know that friend who suddenly starts casually telling you about his life? Oh, I ran into John today, he asked about you. This is rarely coincidence. He plants these information seeds strategically. All these actions have one desperate objective: to force a reaction, any reaction, just to confirm he still has some microscopic power over your emotions. It's like an addict trying to get just a little more of the drug, because for him, even a negative response, even you telling him to go to hell, is preferable to the absolute void of your indifference. The most pathetic thing, and you need to understand this to not fall into the trap, is that he interprets any attention you give, even if it's to establish clear boundaries, as a victory. In his completely distorted mind, any emotion he can provoke in you is confirmation that he's still important, that he still exists in your inner world. That's why, if he manages to make you lose composure, make you respond with anger, make you waste emotional energy on him, in his head, he won another battle. Because at least for a few minutes, he became the center of your attention again. Freud would call this narcissistic hunger, a desperate, insatiable, and destructive need to be fed by others' recognition. It's like a carnivorous plant that constantly needs prey to survive. Without this emotional food, the narcissist begins to wither psychologically, literally like a plant without water. And here's what terrifies him most. The more you demonstrate genuine indifference, not fake, not forced, but truly authentic, the more he realizes he's become a ghost in your life, that you don't think of him when you wake up, don't remember him during the day, don't dream of him at night, that he simply ceased to exist in your emotional universe. The eighth feeling that torments the narcissist is perhaps the most contradictory and psychologically complex of all, a deep, visceral and devastating guilt that he feels in every fiber of his being but will never be able to consciously admit. Freud would describe this as unconscious guilt, a feeling that silently corrodes beneath the surface of consciousness, causing real and constant suffering, but completely denied by the conscious mind. You need to understand something fundamental about how the human psyche works. At some primitive and honest level of the mind, even the most hardened narcissist knows perfectly well that he caused unnecessary damage, that he was cruel without justifiable reason, that he destroyed something that could have been beautiful and meaningful. This awareness isn't rational or articulated, it's instinctive, visceral, like a wound that hurts without you being able to explain exactly why. But here's the problem. Consciously admitting this guilt would mean collapsing the entire defensive structure he built over years, perhaps decades. It would be like admitting that the entire edifice of his personality is built on foundations of lies and manipulation. For the narcissistic mind, this is literally unbearable. So what happens? This guilt remains repressed, pushed into the depths of the unconscious, but continues there, fermenting, growing, manifesting through physical and emotional symptoms he will never be able to connect to the true cause. Let me give you concrete examples of how this repressed guilt manifests. He might start having serious problems sleeping, constantly waking up during the early morning hours for no apparent reason. He might develop inexplicable anxiety, that type of anguish that tightens the chest and accelerates the heart without there being an obvious cause. He might even enter episodes of deep depression that he attributes to other causes: work, family, financial situation, anything except the true origin. The body doesn't lie, never lies. And repressed guilt always finds a way to manifest physically, even when the conscious mind completely rejects it. Constant headaches, gastrointestinal problems, chronic muscle tension, even more serious psychosomatic illnesses can emerge. Denied guilt also explains why he might try to repair damage in completely inadequate and often offensive ways. Have you ever experienced him trying to give you expensive gifts out of nowhere? Or making grandiose public declarations of love precisely when you were moving on? Or promising dramatic changes that he knows and you know he won't be able to sustain? These are desperate attempts to relieve unconscious guilt without having to assume real responsibility for what he did. It's like trying to heal a deep wound with colorful band-aids. They seem like grandiose gestures, but in reality, they're strategies to calm his own conscience without doing the necessary internal work. Freud explained something fascinating about this mechanism. Unconscious guilt is infinitely more torturous than conscious guilt because it can't be processed, understood, or resolved. It keeps circulating in the psychic system like an emotional virus, causing constant and invisible damage. When you feel guilt consciously, you can analyze the situation, take responsibility, make genuine apologies, take actions to repair damage. There's a path to resolution. But when guilt is unconscious, it becomes an internal ghost that constantly haunts, without the person being able to identify the source of torment. The most ironic and perhaps most tragic thing is that the only way to truly relieve this guilt would be through genuine recognition of the error committed, sincere apology without expectations, and the search for real and sustained behavioral change. But this would require a level of humility, vulnerability, and self-reflection that the narcissistic structure simply doesn't allow. It's as if he were trapped in a psychological cell where the key is in his own hand, but his pathological pride prevents him from using that key. So he remains imprisoned, carrying an emotional weight that increases day after day, year after year. And this unresolved guilt, this wound that never heals, leads us directly to the last and most devastating feeling that corrodes his soul. The ninth and final feeling that completely dominates the narcissist is the deepest, most devastating and irreversible existential loneliness that a human being can experience. And when I say existential loneliness, I'm not just talking about the loneliness of being physically alone. That would be too easy to resolve. I'm talking about the terrifying loneliness of never being able to truly connect with another human being, of being condemned to live forever behind masks and playing false characters. Freud would say, this is the final punishment of the narcissistic structure, the definitive and irreversible inability to experience real love, authentic connection, or genuine intimacy. It's like being eternally thirsty in a world full of water, but being unable to drink because all water turns to sand in your mouth. Because you see, all his relationships are fundamentally based on control, manipulation, projection, and performance. Never on mutual recognition, shared vulnerability, or unconditional acceptance. He can't love, he can only possess. He can't connect, he can only control. He can't be intimately known, he can only perform. When you leave his life and manage to rebuild yourself, when you demonstrate that you not only survived but prospered, he realizes something absolutely terrifying, that he lost not just you, but also the last real chance to experience something genuine in life, because you were one of the few people who knew his true nature, the fears, insecurities, moments of weakness, and had still chosen to stay, at least for a while. This confronts him with an unbearable truth. If not even you, who loved him despite knowing his flaws, could remain by his side, then maybe he truly is impossible to love. Maybe he's really defective at a fundamental and irreparable level. This loneliness is qualitatively different from any other type of isolation. It's not the temporary loneliness of someone going through a difficult phase. It's not the circumstantial loneliness of someone who moved to a new city or lost touch with friends. It's the existential loneliness of someone condemned to repeat the same destructive patterns forever, to form only superficial relationships based on lies, to never experience the deep peace of being accepted for who he really is. Imagine the following situation. He might be at a crowded party, surrounded by people laughing at his jokes and praising his social performance, but inside feels a void so deep it seems like a black hole sucking all vital energy. Because he knows all these people are interacting with a fabricated version of him, not with the real and imperfect human being hiding behind the mask. Worse still, even when he temporarily manages to fool a new person, even when someone new falls into the trap of initial love bombing, he knows it's a matter of time before his true nature reveals itself. It's like an actor who knows the play will end, that the lights will come on, that the audience will leave. The loneliness is constant because the connection is always temporary and false. The most tragic thing of all is that this loneliness is completely self-imposed. At any moment, he could choose vulnerability, honesty, real and sustained change. He could seek genuine therapy, do the necessary internal work, learn to develop real empathy. But this would require symbolically killing the narcissistic ego, going through a kind of psychological death to be reborn as an authentic person. And he prefers eternal loneliness to the symbolic death of the ego. He prefers to live forever hungry for real connection than make the necessary sacrifice to obtain it. It's like someone who prefers to die of thirst than admit they don't know where to find water. Freud explained something deeply disturbing about this mechanism. Some psychological traumas and personality structures can be irreversible, especially when the person actively refuses to seek change. The primary narcissistic wound, this deep conviction that he's not worthy of true love, can become a self-fulfilling prophecy that perpetuates indefinitely. The narcissist might be condemned to feel this existential loneliness for the rest of his life, always desperately seeking in others what he'll never be able to find. The cure for a void only he can fill, the acceptance only he can give himself, the self-love only he can cultivate. And here's the most liberating truth I can share with you. Understanding these 9 devastating feelings that corrode his soul isn't to feel sorry, isn't to justify abusive behavior, isn't to make you go back and try to save him. It's to deeply understand that nothing, absolutely nothing that happened was your fault. He carries an existential pain that preceded you and will continue long after you've moved on and built a full and happy life. Your only responsibility today and always is to fiercely protect your own emotional evolution and never allow his pain to become your pain again. His loneliness is his choice. Your growth is your achievement. And that's the fundamental difference between you two.